that was a really brutal year, and lost at home here to South Carolina. Thought I was getting fired right here in this room. Actually, I walked out right there and walked around, and Kath, may get fired today. Graham's sitting in the back there, so I don't know. But can't say I blame him.
I don't doubt me. Let's get that straight. I don't doubt me. So the next question, the confidence level of me doing this job, yes. I'm built for this. I don't doubt me.
How do you explain the past couple of weeks to recruits and their parents?
I don't have to explain it. They saw it. See, you got to understand, if you're a dog, you want to come here and right the wrong. If you're a cat, you look at the scoreboard and you run. Which one are you, a dog or a cat? Exactly.
Well, I got my dogs with me. That's Brandon Huffman and Tom Lloyd from 24/7 Sports to dive into the coaches there, and Dabo and Coach Prime as well. And let's start there with Coach Prime, Brandon. Coach kind of sending a message to future buffs. Obviously, some might not like it, but that's how he is. But given what we've seen this season and the hype that's maybe died down there when it comes to Colorado, could that in the program maybe be affected and maybe losing some of their juice?
Yeah, I mean, they're really not a school that really likes to recruit aggressively from the high school ranks as it is. So this is maybe any potential momentum that they had to kind of show that it wasn't the Shedeur and Travis Hunter show, that's definitely being stunted. And I don't think that there's a huge impact on the 2026 class because that class is for the most part done. But it's definitely going to speak volumes towards the 27 and 28 class. Those underclassmen, you're not seeing the high caliber recruits at Colorado games like you did his first 2 seasons there. It's a lot of in-state recruits, a lot of local recruits, maybe walk-ons. There's not the high-powered national recruits that have been going there the last 2 years. And I think that's kind of speaking to the overall health of the program, where there is not that hype anymore. And Deion is sound resigned in a couple of weeks, even though he's saying, hey, if you're a dog, come here. If you're a cat, run. It doesn't seem like they're even really focusing on the dogs. They're going to hit the portal hard like they've been doing under his time there at Colorado. But I think that, any potential momentum that they had reigning with the high school class, that's continued to be just kind of churned away with the way the season's played out.
First off, just to talk about what Deion Sanders said, it fired me up. I'm not going to lie. If you're a dog, you want to come fix right the wrongs. That fired me up. Like, if there was a wall, I'd be running through it. Like, that's the Deion Sanders that I would want to play for. However, the recruits just simply aren't buying in like they did when Shedeur Sanders was there, Travis Hunter, and obviously things got rolling initially way back when he was at Jackson State. But at Colorado now, people aren't buying into it. They're not winning on the field. They landed Jordan Seaton, one of the top offensive linemen in the country 2 years ago. They landed Julian Lewis, one of the elite quarterbacks last cycle. But around those pieces, there's not a lot going on there, and that's showing in 2026. It's an average recruiting class. People are just not buying into Deion Sanders. And honestly, when you talk to people around the program, when you talk to people in the coaching networks, none of them expect him to be at Colorado for very long. I think he's built to be an NFL head coach. I'm not sure he's really the guy you want leading your college program right now, especially when he's no longer coaching his sons. And I think that was priority number one. So big picture, I just think I don't want to say it's time for them to move on, but I do think that there's better fits for Deion Sanders because, simply put, the recruits aren't buying into his message anymore.
Well, when it comes to Clemson, it seems like Dabo Swinney has been giving us some legit quotes about his future or maybe the lack thereof, whether it's I can win somewhere else or yesterday we saw I could be fired today. Brandon, I'm curious, when you hear this as a recruit, how much damage does this do to Dabo and maybe the program's future?
Well, there is definitely a sound of resignation in his voice. The last couple of press conferences he's done, you can see he just looks defeated. Like, this is nowhere near the Dabo we saw in the late 2010s. This is a completely different Dabo, maybe those earlier Dabo, where there just doesn't seem to be the fight, the desire to be there anymore. And it's almost like he's openly looking for a way to get out of there. And Clemson still recruits at a high level. There's enough lingering success from the 2010s to impact these days recruits. But with him continue to kind of refuse to, pivot to where college football has gone in 2025, and now with the lack of on-field success, with the expectations really cratering this season, you see a guy who just looks like he's worn out, looks like he's tired, like there might be a change of scenery that'll be better for both parties. And as a result of that, that's going to impact the underclass class recruits. And I think that may even have an impact on the 2026 recruits if he decides to part ways with Clemson after the season. But a few years ago, where Clemson was the it team, where it was the hottest team, they were getting whoever they wanted. They were very deliberate in their recruiting approach. Now it just seems like everything is wearing him out. And I think there's a lot of concern, not just for the on-the-field product that's at Clemson, but for the off-the-field, the recruiting, the resistance to pivoting is definitely having that trickle-down effect. And now you're seeing this season really wearing on Dabo and Clemson and fans. There might be a best-case scenario of both sides and both parties going a separate way after the season.
So you got questions when it comes to Colorado. You got questions when it comes to Clemson. I'm curious in Auburn, Tom, when you talk about Bralan Womack, who is committed there. Of course, no more Hugh Freeze. What's the latest on his commitment?
Yeah, it's a tough situation because it's one of those, I'm still committed, but I'm looking around and keeping my options open. And Bralan Womack, our number one safety, according to Director of Scouting Andrew Ivins, he is an incredible talent. But, like, away from the field, he is completely buttoned up, and he is focused on the right things. Everybody thinks he's chasing a bag and going after the most money. That is not the case. This is a kid who wants to play for Auburn. But in addition, he wanted to play for Hugh Freeze. So at this point with Hugh Freeze and Auburn parting ways and them deciding to fire him, he's going to keep his options open. The team to watch right now, the Texas A&M Aggies, head coach Mike Elko, they're undefeated. They are rolling right now. They were kind of in that runner-up spot with Ohio State and Florida when he initially picked Auburn. So keep an eye on them. He's going to be visiting there in 2 weeks. There's going to be some other schools making a run. I've heard some chatter about Ohio State, obviously jumping back in the picture. I've heard Alabama's trying to see if they can make room for him, make the funds right. But again, I think right now the best case scenario is Texas A&M. But again, I want to reiterate, this is a guy who loves DJ Durkin. He loves Auburn. His sister plays softball there for the Tigers. She loves Auburn in general as a whole. This is a kid who wants to be at Auburn. The right hire will keep five-star safety Bralan Womack in the class. By the way, you just saw it there in terms of the 5 stars. He is the lone one when it comes committed to Auburn there, so you don't want to lose that one. Brandon and Tom, appreciate it as always. We talk about those recruits, but don't forget the conversation continues on the college football page. A lot of recruiting movement and maybe with some firings along the way. The last couple ones we saw just mentioned Hugh Freeze there at Auburn, but as always, use that QR code to tap in with the fellas.